But yeah, ORBS, you would basically go through those five things I showed you on the five things you need to know about an option. Remember, you want to know the stock, you want to know if it's call or is it a put. Are you the buyer or are you the seller? What strike price and what expiration date? Once you pick those five things, you pop those things into your app and then you go in and you confirm, make sure you check the confirmation, and then you check to make sure you're going to get the proceeds that you expect, and that will get you there. And so there's some examples that we did inside your login for sure. Reginald, how aggressive would I need to be to accumulate six figures if I have $60,000? Um, I wouldn't try to rush it. I would, I would try to. I think what I find is that the biggest need in our community isn't so much just wealth; it's really income. Income is not wealth. Income is the opportunity to create wealth. And a lot of people, their wealth is low, and they say, "How do I make my wealth high really fast?" And it's hard to do that without taking a ton of risk. And so, if you, and I had a healthy debate with a guy about that, right? Because he's a big believer in buying leaps. Like he thinks that if you get your money, and you don't have a lot of money, you should just buy these leaps, these long-term options, and that can increase your wealth pretty quickly. The problem with that, though, is that if the market does not move in the direction that you want it to move, you can lose everything, right? So the question is, if you are in a position where you feel like you're okay risking everything, then a strategy like that could work. But most people would say that your goal should be to preserve what you have so you don't end up destitute, and then you build on top of that slowly. So that would mean taking that money, having an emergency fund, and then making some lower risk investments, and then getting into the riskier stuff so that if the market doesn't work for you, you don't end up homeless. But some people just they say, "Hey, I'm going to bet it all," right? And we have a gambling culture. Even Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys, says he bet his whole fortune on it one oil well, so that would give him enough money to go buy the Cowboys. Then he bet his whole fortune on the Cowboys. And if you're okay taking that kind of risk, that's okay. But I encourage you to be really careful to when you hear an inspirational story like that, to understand that those stories in many cases also end up going bad. Like for every one Jerry Jones that got rich betting it all, there's 10 versions of him that lost everything. So if you're okay with losing everything, then, I'm not here to tell you you shouldn't do that. I'm just here to tell you that a lot of people try to do that and they go, they have some problems. So it's up to you, though. It's up to you. I'm not here to tell you how to do that. I think the safest way to do it is spend a lot of energy learning how to start a side hustle or a business so that then you increase your income. I've seen people come into the Black Business School with a regular job and build a business that's now making them $100,000 a month. And it wasn't like they had to risk it all. They had to do a lot of work, and then they had to do some saving and investing along the way. And then over time, they were able to build massive amounts of wealth because they had massive amounts of income. When your income bracket changes, your possibilities shift dramatically. So if I am broke, like if I was cursed by my parents and grandparents by them not leaving me any assets, which you should not do to your children, then the fastest thing I would do to build wealth is learn how to make money, learn how to start a business and build, because investing is more so built on making passive income. It's built on taking capital you have and growing that capital. And you can grow lots of capital, but you need lots of time typically. So the only way to accelerate that is either risk or cash, one of the two.